Hello, this is Casey Budd. I just wanted to do a quick combo about the solstice today. I made a post yesterday about it that tells a lot of my thoughts, but I also thought it might be fun to do a little quick video because we're in the middle of the solstice and I wanted to do something a little bit different from just making another little typed bit of info. So, as you read in my post yesterday, as well as you've probably read around the internet, this is a big solstice because we have this grand conjunction happening at the same time. A conjunction, which means kind of a close togetherness between Saturn and Jupiter that are going on right now. So Saturn and Jupiter both have just moved into Aquarius out of Capricorn, where they were hanging out during the key phases of the pandemic. And Aquarius is a sign associated more with progress and movement and technology, and it's just kind of a way lighter, it's an air sign energy, so it's way lighter than the dense Capricorn energy. So it really does represent a turning point energetically in the whole pandemic situation, because Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn were really the key planets involved in the pandemic. So for me, this solstice and this grand conjunction is like a bookend on the end of the pandemic. And I do believe that these planets, I do believe that the pandemic will start improving as these planets start separating, which is going to happen over the next couple of months and will be notably better by March in terms of the planetary separation. So that happens to correlate with when we have a vaccine. So, just interestingly, we get the vaccine release just a few days after the recent eclipse that we just had, in the last week. And around December 26th, a little over a year ago, was a solar eclipse in Capricorn, December 26, 2019, and that was really the start of COVID. And I was looking at that eclipse and thinking, this doesn't look good. We've got a problem coming for this year, because I really saw the eclipse as like setting something up, and it was a lot of Capricorn energies, and Saturn was conjunct Pluto in Capricorn, and I really thought there was going to be a war and some kind of governmental destabilization. And because it was happening, in the cosmos, I thought it would affect, the entire world, and it would really be some kind of restrictive experience for the whole world. So I thought it was a war because of that. And it was a war. It was just a war on a virus, and it really did affect governments worldwide, and it really did cause this slowdown and restrictive energy worldwide. And really, it was just a couple of days after that eclipse that Wuhan, China released the information about the virus. So eclipses often reveal something. So the reveal came a few days after the eclipse, although the reveal to them might have come on the eclipse or right before it. And they just revealed that information to the world a few days after the eclipse. And similarly, we revealed the vaccine and kind of made it more widely available just after the eclipse that just happened recently this year. So that eclipse was in Sagittarius, however. So now we've got this solstice. The sun has moved into Capricorn. It did early this morning. So we've got a shift, and there's still this Capricorn energy. So Jupiter and Saturn have moved out of Capricorn, and that's a lightness, but the sun just moved into Capricorn, and that still means there's still a kind of heaviness. And Mercury is in Capricorn as well, and Mercury rules communication and the mind. So there still is this kind of heaviness, but there's a lightness too. So it's better than last year, way better than last year. And there's hope, there's some Aquarian energy to balance out some of that Capricorn energy. We're having progress, we're moving forward, so that's great. But there is still some residual stuck energy, and as I mentioned in my post, whatever Jupiter touches, it makes it bigger, it accentuates it. So Jupiter and Saturn together accentuates the qualities of Saturn. So Saturn is about restriction and blockage and taking the slow route and being frustrated and having things not work out perfectly and easily, and just kind of having to like go the distance and go through the motions and do it all the slow route. That's all Saturn. So I've felt for the past like week or two that, especially the past week since the eclipse, that energy was really palpable. So I was explaining to one of my students earlier before this video an analogy, because she was asking me about the solstice because we're having our session today, and I said I see the conjunction that's happening today as it's kind of like a driving funnel. You know, when you're on the freeway and the lanes start getting more narrow and they start dropping the lanes, and you're getting kind of funneled into like maybe from 6 lanes, you know, LA, California style 6 or 8 lanes into like 4, 2, you know, you never really get to 2, but you're maybe going to 4. Or in a smaller city, if you're at like 4 lanes and you're going into 2 lanes or whatever. But it really fits a little bit more with the city driving, because there's a lot of cars, and, you know, 4 lanes is still, you know, a little space for all those cars in like Southern California that I was used to driving in when I lived out there. So basically the point is that we've been feeling the energy of this conjunction all week, and in many cases you feel the energy of an astrological event when you're in the funnel phase. So you feel it's starting to get narrow and you're having to adjust, like with the driving metaphor, you're having to adjust. There's more cars all of a sudden in a limited space. You're adjusting, the pressure is on. You're having to slow down. You know, it really is an excellent metaphor. And, you know, people's Saturn returns really express this, you know, perfectly, because you really feel your Saturn return, which is when Saturn returns to its birth position in your chart. It's around like 29 years, but you really feel it at like 28 years, sometimes at 27 or 27 and a half years. You're feeling it because you're in that funnel phase, and like the pressure is starting to apply. By the time it's the exact kind of connection of Saturn and your birth Saturn and the Saturn in the sky coming to the same position, you've already made adjustments. You've gotten in the funnel. You're in the smaller lanes. You're driving. You're doing what you're going to do. So it's not as strong by that time. Usually it's like you've made the adjustments needed. You've gone through the funnel. So we went through the funnel for today's conjunction this week. So this week you might have felt more frustrations, more restrictions, things just slow. There might have been something come up with your father, because Saturn represents father. There could literally have been clogs or blocks or just problems, things being stuck. I literally had a clog in my sink this week, so that's a very physical, literal manifestation of Saturn energy being blown up or emphasized. But I also felt a little extra frustrated this week, and that's really to be expected, and things just not flowing perfectly smoothly. But now that we're at the exact moment of conjunction, I feel like it's a little anticlimactic, because again, I felt the energy more during the build-up phase, and now that it's here, it's just like, oh, here. It'll be a turning point, really. So we'll still feel the energy next week as well, but it'll be decreasing and slowly separating. So you can expect still to feel that more Saturn restriction, pressure type of energy. There is a square. It's a loose square, but a square is a 90-degree angular connection between Uranus and this conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn. So it's within 6 degrees. So the closer it is to 0 degrees difference in between this in the square, the stronger it is. So it's 6 degrees away. It's not super strong, but it's not weak either. It's still palpable. And Uranus means there could be some sudden change or just something unexpected or some surprises or just abrupt kind of energy that might be felt while this conjunction is happening. So that could mean accident, that could mean, again, just abrupt, that could mean something breaking, that could mean just change in direction or decision or something like that. Or it could mean nothing in particular for you. But those are the kind of possibilities. We also have the moon. So the moon is currently in Pisces, and it's been in Pisces all day, kind of the late degrees of Pisces. It'll be changing into early degrees of Aries later tonight, and it'll be conjuncting, again, coming close to and next to Chiron, which is the wound. So that might mean that, especially later tonight, there's something emotional for us to sit with and be with and process. This Chiron is also making a really nice trine, which is a 120-degree favorable connection with Venus. So Chiron, the wound, is connecting favorably with Venus, who is like a healer, blessing planet. And I think that might be speaking to maybe the vaccine, maybe just the hope and favorable energy. So it's kind of speaking to a healing potential or something favorable is going on regarding that wound. So I see this wound moon conjunction as kind of like a healing opportunity, and again, a kind of an opening. Mars is out there, but it's not really, well, Mars is making a trine, a loose trine with the south node, which might be speaking a little bit to kind of like overturning a new leaf, because that's what Mars does. And it might be like speaking, the south node is a little bit about the past, so there might be a little extra freshness implied by this Mars south node trine, as well as, again, the moon going into Mars. Going into Aries tonight. And again, all of this energy is kind of modulated by your own birth chart. So depending on if these planets are interacting with things in your birth chart, you'll feel this solstice more or less than average. So there's a certain amount of energy that's just palpable for everyone, and then it's kind of accentuated if it's happening in a really prominent location in your chart. Like if it's happening, for me, it's happening on my descendant. But if it's happening on your ascendant, on your descendant, on your midheaven, which is up above in your chart, or on the IC, which is down below in your chart, then it's a little stronger for you. Or if it's happening conjunct any of your birth planets, like if you have planets in Capricorn or in early degrees of Aquarius, this solstice is a little more impactful for you. Potentially if you have planets in the late degrees of Sagittarius as well. Or in some of the other planets that I talked about a little bit more minorly. Or if some of your planets are making angular connection to any of the key planets involved. I know that gets a bit technical if you don't know astrology, so I apologize. But just know that the main thing to know is you feel what you feel. And if you don't feel much, then you might not be a super sensitive person to subtle energies, or it might not be, these energies might not be making too many connections with your birth planet, so they might not be super impactful for you. But other conjunctions and other energies might be. Again, we have just continuously these different formations are happening, and they interact with different people in different ways, and they kind of trigger different karmas. So it's all perfect and aligned, and if it happens for you, it's meant to happen. And if it's not, something doesn't have anything specifically for you, then nothing much will happen, and you'll just kind of pass through it. So yeah, I'm hopeful that this is a bit of a bookend, a bit of a transition, but it's still going to be a little bit of heaviness with the Sun and Mercury in Capricorn right now, and just still kind of lightening up and slowly improving things after this coronavirus year. But there is hope, and there's going to be, technological advancement with 2 planets in Aquarius. There's an asteroid in Aquarius as well, Athena, and so she represents kind of a fighting, strategic energy. So she's involved in this conjunction as well. So yeah, so that's kind of the summary of what I think about this conjunction, and I hope it inspires you in some way or just gives you something to think about. And yeah, happy solstice. Welcome to the slowly increasing longer days. Welcome back to the light, and welcome Capricorn, because that's also what happens on solstice. We enter Capricorn. So Capricorn has given us a lot of things to think about this year with all the planets in Capricorn, but hopefully once we get out of Capricorn, the sun being in Capricorn, we really will be kind of on the home stretch for coronavirus. That's what I hope, and that's what the astrology kind of suggests. So blessings, solstice blessings to all, and enjoy the rest of the interesting energies of today. Okay, aloha.